Hey, what's up? This is Gary from Raz Rentals. 2021 just begun, and already, as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collector, I'm pretty excited about the year. So far, in only 4 days, I found Krang the Android Body. I've got the Ultimates Wave 2 headed to me in the mail. Casey Jones 2-pack that I never picked up is coming to me in the mail. Still don't have my Toka and Razar, but today at Target, I got tipped off by a friend. He sent me a message and said, hey, look, they got Splinter and Baxter here. So I ran up as fast as I could and got myself this awesome 2-pack. And I'm pretty excited about this because, in my opinion, this looks like the best Splinter I've ever gotten. I've never been a huge fan of the original Playmates Splinter, and in general, I'm not a huge Splinter fan. But, you know, this guy looks just like the cartoon, and that, in my opinion, was the best take on Splinter. He was my favorite. So I'm really happy to finally have a cartoon-accurate Splinter. Baxter here looks pretty cool. You know, his design is nice. It's not as nice as the Playmates, but, you know, I'll compare the two of them in a little bit. So, first, these two guys come in this awesome packaging. The packaging kind of matches the Turtle van. So you got the green on top and the yellow on the bottom. You got two nice pictures of Splinter and Baxter right there. You got a very nice big window so you can see all these accessories, and there's a ton of them in here. If you're wondering what this number is on my hand, I wrote down a code from a video game. So you just got tons of accessories because these guys are tiny. So I'm glad that they, you know, really put a bunch of stuff in here. On top, says Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. On the side here, you got a nice picture of Splinter holding this book. Now, I tried to figure out what that book was, and I couldn't figure it out. There's no name on it that I'm aware of, so I wasn't able to really look up, you know, book, Ninja Turtles, 1987. All you do is get like a bunch of other stuff that's not from the cartoon. So, you have a picture of Baxter here holding the Retromutagen Ray gun. I'm going to try to go into a little detail about all these accessories from what I know, which, you know, let you know which every piece is. So on the back here, you got a nice picture of Splinter and Baxter. You have a little description here explaining who the Ninja Turtles are. It's not like a bio for Splinter or Baxter. And on the bottom here, you have some shots of some past releases. There's nothing new on here, but still pretty excited. So, I'm going to open these guys up, move them around, see if anything's stiff. If I have to warm it up, I'll warm it up if I have to, and I'll be back in a little bit. So, I got these guys out of their box, I moved them around a little bit, and I'll tell you what I think. First of all, I think that in general, they look really nice. I mean, they look pretty much just like the cartoon. That's the best thing that these guys have going for them, is that they look so much like the Fred Wolf cartoon. The negative that I have to say about these guys is that, you know, if these guys are really hard to move. It felt like for the past couple of releases, NECA was doing a really good job. Krang moved well. The Triceratons, the Triceraton Infantrymen, the Rock Soldiers, those all moved extremely well. Now, I don't know if it's because there's a lot of paint on these guys or what, but the joints are incredibly stiff, and some of them with like the double knee joints and the double shoulder or elbow joints, I can only get one joint to move, and it's, you know, it's one of these things where these joints on these guys are so small that I'm afraid by like pushing it too hard, I'm going to break these guys. So just getting one joint to move is good enough for now. So that's my first thoughts on these guys. Like I said, they look awesome. Joints, not the best. However, look at all these accessories. This is the amount of accessories that come with these guys is amazing. Like, there's so much stuff here, and they're all from a bunch of different episodes of the cartoon. So for this episode, I'm going to go backwards. I usually talk about the figures first and then the accessories, but I'm going to talk about accessories first and then the figures. because there's so many accessories here, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about each one of them and tell you which episode they're from. First, we got Splinter's cool mat here. You usually just saw this on the floor in the sewer lair. You can make it look like he's meditating, although it probably would have been a little better if he had a closed eye head or something like that. But still pretty cool. First up on Splinter's side, you have the Retromutagen Ray Generator. Quite a name, isn't it? Now this, everybody kept on being like, well, why does Splinter have a gun? But this is not Splinter's gun. This is actually a device that Shredder used that can reverse mutations. And in the episode Shredder and Splintered from Season 1, the Shredder hacks into the Turtles' TV and tells them that, this is the only thing that could bring Splinter back to normal. And if the Turtles want it, they can come get it. This device is more of a weapon for the Shredder because in the episode he threatens to use it to turn the Turtles back into 4 baby turtles. And eventually in the end, Splinter decides to destroy it to protect the Turtles. Up next, Splinter has his art book. Now this only makes a brief appearance in the first episode whenever Splinter's talking about how he gave the Ninja Turtles their names. Up next we have Master Splinter's walking stick. Yep, just a regular nice little stick here for Splinter to use. He can grip it pretty well with this hand. And with this hand you can make it appear that he's resting his body on it. Looks pretty nice with this hand too. It stays in place very well. Up next we got this rat on Splinter's side. And this rat is just one of Splinter's pet rats from the first episode before he turns into a rat himself. This is the only accessory that I couldn't figure out what this was. Obviously it's a book, and obviously it probably has some importance to the show. Probably just an episode that, this has something to deal with. Because why else would they make an accessory of it? So if you know what this is from, please let me know. I don't know, but I do like the look of it. It looks very nice and worn, and I like the golden rings on the spine there. Up next we have this sacred scroll of the Foot Clan. This appears in the episode Blast from the Past in Season 3. Basically what happens is Shredder goes and summons the spirit of Shibano-sama with this scroll, who was the founder of the Foot Clan, so he can have him teach Bebop and Rocksteady how to be like master ninjas. And Shibano-sama tells him that he can't do it. He can only obey the leader, the master of the Foot Clan. So Splinter has to go and prove that he is the actual master of the Foot Clan. And by doing that, he has to use the Curly maneuver. And basically what that is just Master Splinter acting like Curly from the Three Stooges. I don't know why, in ancient Japan, they would know Curly from the Three Stooges, but I like it. It's pretty funny. And on this scroll here, it says Curly. I can't make out anything written here. It looks like Bessersh, but, what's that? Bessersh? Does that mean anything? But on the third and fourth line, it says Nyuck, Nyuck. So, it's very Three Stooges inspired and just pretty funny. Up next, you have this Yin Yang Medallion. This comes from the Season 5 episode Michelangelo Meets Mondo Gecko. In that episode, Splinter uses this to hypnotize Michelangelo and make him fall asleep so he can remember some long-lost memories. You're getting sleepy. Sleepy. Send me all your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys. Now, this is pretty cool because, this is from a Season 6 episode, so it really shows that NECA is willing to go deep and far into the obscure reaches of the cartoon. This is the Sword of Yurikawa. It's from the episode The Sword of Yurikawa, and in that episode, this sword shows up in America, and Splinter tells the Turtles that he has to get it before the Shredder does because his master originally owned it. And it's a very powerful, magical Japanese sword that has the power of transformation. It can change, but it always stays the same. Something like that, I can't remember. But this sword also, it gets like a flame on it when Splinter is using it. Okay, before we get into Baxter's side of the box, let's talk about Splinter's hands here. First, you have a set of gripping hands, but they're kind of more, open. You can use them for things like holding onto the cane. Up next, you got these cool hands with the fingers in pretty cool positions. They're perfect for like meditation poses, or probably even like martial arts poses. Like it looks like, he's like gonna do some kind of cool form or attack or something. I like these a lot. Up next, you have a set of tighter gripping hands. Now, unfortunately, these don't make fists, so you can't make it look like, he's punching somebody. But you can get him to hold the cane. You could have him, hold his hand up in the air and have him yelling at the turtles like, Michelangelo, I told you to clean your room. Donatello, go do the dishes. Or, like, Shredder, get off of my lawn. Splinter comes with a nice pointing finger. I gotta say, he's got a lot of nice, really expressive hands. Altogether, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different hands. Pretty nice for a little guy. On Baxter's side, you have the Mutagen Ray Gun. This is from the 3rd season episode Bye Bye Fly. In that episode, while underneath the sewers, Baxter finds a temple, which turns out to be a spaceship that crash-landed on Earth 300 years ago. Baxter makes friends with the brain of the spaceship, who later turns out to be the computer Z, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And when Baxter's telling him about how he wants to have his revenge on the Turtles and Shredder and everybody else, Z, or at the time just the computer, gives him this cool Mutagen Ray Gun, although he says Mutagen Ray Gun or something like that. And, this gives Baxter the ability to turn different creatures into different animals. You can see here on the dial that he can do that. Which is pretty cool about this is that we actually got a version of this last year with Super 7's Baxter. Both are really cool, but I think this one might be better because it has a lot of cool paint on it, and it's got, those are very small, the way that this is printed on here, and they just look very clear and very nice. So he actually uses this on the Shredder, and he turns him into a fly, and he also uses it on Michelangelo and turns him into a gerbil. So now we can talk about Shredder the Fly. We've had Baby Shredder and regular Shredder, and now we finally got Shredder the Fly. And this is pretty hilarious and pretty funny. And like I said, it's in that episode Bye Bye Fly. And I just love how they just took a fly design, they added the purple cape, and, he's got the Shredder helmet, and he even has the cool Shredder shoulder pads. It's really funny, and I like his big red fly eyes. And here's Mikey the Gerbil. And this is pretty funny. Look at him. He looks like, I don't know if he looks scared or I look scared of him. He's pretty hilarious looking. He looks like he wants to get you. So in the end of the episode Bye Bye Fly, the spaceship blows up, but eventually between Bye Bye Fly and the next Baxter episode, Son of the Return of the Fly, which is from season 5 or 4? I think it's from season 4. It's a pretty great episode. I like it. Anyways, the computer becomes this entity called Z, and it has a face on it, and it's best buddies with Baxter. And what's pretty cool about this is it has a very nice lenticular picture on it, so you can turn it and get different expressions out of his face. What's cool is in that episode, Z is able to, Baxter finds some kind of device that he puts inside of him, and Z is able to build a body out of energy. And I've seen on Facebook, some people have been taking Marvel Legends Icemans and, popping the heads off of them and popping this computer on them, and they look fantastic. So if you can, do that. There's also some very nice detail here on the back. They did a really good job with this one. I like it a lot. And if you were curious, there's nothing underneath, so you can just use, stick somebody's head in there. Next, we got the Doku plant.
A Doku plant?
Yes, a Doku plant. Chill out, relax. This isn't the real thing. It's a toy. Just calm down. So in the episode Enter the Fly from season 2, Shredder sends this to April O'Neil, and its fragrance is deadly, so she sniffs it and she gets poisoned, and she's gonna die unless the turtles find a different plant that will counter the poison. So I gotta give it to Shredder. He finally did something pretty evil, trying to kill April. Let's go over Baxter's hands here. Now, first he has these trigger finger hands, and they look really nice, but they are kind of useless because look how he holds the gun here. This is the natural way that this gun fits in his hands. The trigger sits above the gun, and the way that it fits in between these other fingers, it's kind of stuck in this manner. So if you hold it and have his hand like straight out, he's pointing the gun down. So you're going to have to hold the hand all the way up here. That's not cool. And you want to know what's even crazier than that? Was Super 7 did like the exact same thing when they had theirs. The gun naturally, if you have the hand pointing straight, it holds it like this. So you have to tilt his arm up like this. So it's like, almost about eye level when he's like trying to shoot people with it. Again, though, why would they do this? Like, look how high up they have to hold these guns just to get a straight shot. Something like, how did they do this? Well, I'm confused how you make this mistake. How do you not notice this? Up next, we have another set of gripping hands, only these ones don't have trigger fingers. I like these ones because they're pretty expressive. You could just get Baxter in little funny, goofy poses with them, make it look like he's doing his maniacal, like kind of laugh that he does. Do these hold the gun any better? No. Same deal. And plus the fingers, they're too wide. They can't really fit over the handle. Well, they're kind of squished in there. But same deal. Way too high up. And lastly, Baxter comes with these cool fist hands. Of course, Baxter's not going to be throwing a punch, but it's just a nice little expressive fist that he could use to, put his fist up in the air and complain about how the whole world sucks and he's a loser and he hopes the turtles will die. So, that's all the accessories both of these guys have. There's quite a lot. And now I'm going to go back to Splinter and talk about the sculpt and all that kind of stuff. And now it's finally time to talk about the Ninja Turtles sensei, Splinter the Rat. This is pretty cool. Like I said earlier, I like the look of Splinter in the cartoon a lot more than pretty much every other Splinter. Besides, the original Mirage comic Splinter is probably equal for me. But, as a kid, I didn't even know that existed. All I knew was this guy and the original Splinter. And, I was always disappointed with this action figure because I always thought he looked so cool in the cartoon. He's got like the nice ears. His face is pretty good. And then you'd have this thing and, he looks like misshapen for a rat. His nose is gigantic. He's got these little tiny ears. He's even, there are some things in this that look like a Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman design, but in general, he doesn't look like Mirage Splinter either. Especially this tail, which it's not even pointy. It's like a worm, in my opinion. So forget that guy. And let's talk about this awesome new cartoon accurate Splinter. So like I said, I think Splinter looks really good here. I think that the ink detail on him is as good as always with these NECA Toon figures. The only places really on him where you can kind of see the cell shading is on the head. You can see that the back of the head is darker and the front is lighter. Everywhere else in the body is pretty much just dark brown. His feet, the only other light part is the hands. So, if you pop this up a little bit, the brown of the hand is a different color than the hand, or the brown of the forearm. Now, proportionately, Splinter changes a lot in the cartoon. Sometimes he's got like more of a full figure. Sometimes he's very tiny. So I could see that would be a little tricky hammering down and, getting down a good scale or size for him. I kind of think that maybe the torso here is maybe a little too short for me. I feel like maybe the legs should be a little smaller and the torso should be longer. But that's just, that might just be my personal preference. What's cool about this guy is, of course, he's got hair sculpted all over top of him. I really like the way the wraps look on his feet. They look good. His feet are pretty good. This guy is completely brand new. There's nothing on him that is a reuse part from another NECA figure. So that's pretty great. His tail is nice. It's got a nice point. It has the ability to bend. There's a wire inside of it. You can see that it has the holes here. So in general, I think he looks pretty good. I think that his arms, he's not a strong guy. He's this tiny, frail character. But most of it, when you have him set up on your shelf or wherever, you're going to have this giant cloak on him, so you're not even going to see most of his body underneath. And I thought that maybe when I pulled this guy out originally, the belt was tighter and it was like all the way up to here, and that just kind of made him look like an old man, Splinter with his belt up to his armpits. But it's kind of, I loosened it up and tried to move it down, but it's hard to keep it lower on him, like if you wanted to have it at the waistline. Because of the way his stomach is shaped, the belt just always creeps back up to the top there. But other than that, the cloak, or the kimono, I guess, is that what this would be? I think it looks really nice. It's very thin. It's not too thin, but it's a good piece of fabric. You got these nice little emblems on his chest. Very nice. Now, when you're talking about articulation, this guy has, I think, some problems. Some of his joints are very stiff. Like, I had a hard time trying to turn his head from side to side. It just, it does not want to give you any give there. It just always kind of comes back to the middle. When he's looking up, he can only get this far, and he can look down this far. And he has like a double jointed neck. He's got a joint up here and right below his head, and he has another joint here at the bottom of his neck in this like scruff area, which is just a ball joint. You can actually see it if you tilt it up here. And then he has a cut in his upper torso here, but I couldn't really get it to, rotate or move from side to side. I can only get it to rotate. If you check out his arm up here, he has a swivel and he has a hinge there, and he has a bicep cut. So you're able to move it out here and, rotate it as much as you can, rotate it forward. Here's something that, for me, sorry, I gotta readjust here. This is part of the problem with this figure, is that, lots of times NECA action figures are a little brittle. Even the big guys, you'll have a huge guy like a leatherhead, and just like by trying to bend the elbow, might break the elbow, or you'll break like the peg in the ankle. This guy is tiny. Like, his joints are very, very small. So when you're trying to get these to move at first, they move okay, but there's still some, resistance. And like, I was worried the whole time that these were going to break. Not only that, but this peg, he's got double jointed elbows. There's like a chunk missing from this peg. So I just feel like it's, only a matter of time here before this thing breaks. And in his wrist here, you can rotate it. He's got a swivel and he's got a hinge. And these pegs are very tiny too. So I would suggest getting these move these around before you put them in the hand. Like, don't put one that's fresh and hasn't been broken in yet in there and then try to move it outside of that and then put it in there, so you don't accidentally break it. Nothing in his lower torso. He's got these like double jointed hip joints that NECA has, where you have a ball joint inside and then there's a cut on the hip, so you can rotate it around to where you want it, and you could, rotate it out this direction, you could rotate it forward. It's pretty nice. He's got double jointed knees, and these, again, I could get these joints on the bottom to move, but the ones on top I couldn't get to move too well, and I didn't want to push it because I don't want to break these things. It's difficult because NECA doesn't really have extra pieces that they can send you. Like I contacted them about in my last video I did the Krang Android body, and I was missing a gun inside of the package, and I contacted them and said, like, do you have an extra gun you can send me, because it just wasn't in here. And he wrote me, I got written back and was just told like, sorry, we don't have any extra parts. Return it to the store if you want to for a refund or exchange. And it's like, well, you can't exchange it when there's these things like barely exist in the wild. So for his ankle, he's got an ankle rocker, works well, and he has a hinge there in his ankle. And his toes here, you can rotate them, or they got a hinge, so that's good. Overall, I think he's good. I think you should be able to get some pretty nice, poses and stuff out of him. It's just that because he is so small, he's just sensitive. He's a very sensitive guy. Oh, and like I said before, you can bend this tail, and there is a joint up here that's it swivels and it's got a hinge, so you got a pretty good range with the tail. It's pretty cool so far. I almost forgot to mention, you can also articulate and move his mouth. Now, I have some wear in my Splinter's tongue here, but in my opinion, you would never really want Splinter to have his mouth like completely in a yell, unless maybe he was like controlled by the Rat King or something like that. Most of the times you would want his mouth just kind of barely open. So, in general, I wouldn't really notice that. Technically, this Splinter came out in 2020, so last year NECA gave us 2 really great Splinters, and I gotta say, this is the first time in years I've ever cared about a Splinter toy. Oh, I think both of these are really nice. Also, we got a Super 7 Splinter last year, but because this Splinter is based off of the original toy, I just don't like it as much as this new Splinter. This face is just not a face that I ever cared for Splinter. I always thought that the face in the cartoon was a lot better. Up next, we got Baxter the Fly, and I've always been a huge fan of Baxter. Some of my favorite Ninja Turtle episodes feature Baxter. I feel like he has a really great arc. First he starts out as a human, but when he turns into the Fly is when I think things really get interesting, and nothing ever goes well for Baxter. Every episode with him always ends with him in some kind of crappy situation. So check out Enter the Fly, check out Return of the Fly, check out Bye Bye Fly, and then check out Son of Return of the Fly. All of them, I think, are very good Ninja Turtle episodes. And I think that the, NECA did a really good job of capturing this guy. Sometimes when you watch those episodes, just like Splinter, his proportion changes from episode to episode. So, there are some times when his head might be around this size, and there are other times when he's almost like a normal proportioned person. But in general, I think they did a really good job of translating this guy into an action figure. Now, like I said, I was always a fan of him in the cartoon, but I was also a huge fan of him in the original toy line. And in the original toy line, he looks a little different. He's got more detail on him and stuff like that. So they simplified it for the cartoon He looks more like an upstanding citizen here on in the cartoon than he does in the original action figure. This is kind of like Baxter when he's just graduated high school and he's going to college. And this is Baxter like 4 years into college. He's been hanging out with the wrong people. He's been partying the whole time. His pants and his clothes are all ripped. He's got syringes in his pockets. But, enough about him. I'll talk about this awesome Baxter in a future 1989 episode by himself. This one, we're just going to talk about the NECA cartoon Baxter. And now we get to talk about good old Baxter here. And I gotta say that I think they did a really good job with the face especially. Like, it really captures that look that Baxter has in the cartoon where he is just constantly confused and a mix of terrified and angry. And, they did a really great job here. I really like the texture in his hair. Now, some of the cell shading on this is like half of it's cell shaded and half of it isn't. It's like if you look at the arms, the front of the arms are cell shaded, or the back of the arms are cell shaded. Nothing on the hands, nothing on the extra hands, nothing on the wings, nothing really on the head unless you count these little lines on the eyes. And his pants are cell shaded. You have the dark in the back and the front, but nothing on his blazer or sweater. Nothing on his big feet. So, whatever. But they did add some nice texture to this character. Like I said, the wings look good. I meant the hair. The hair looks good. The wings here, because that was my next point, they actually have a pretty nice texture on them too. I'm trying to see. You can see that there's like lines sculpted onto the wings to make it look more like fly wings. And I like that a lot. Like I said, I think he's a pretty good size. And so, articulation. This guy, too, like Splinter, he is hard to move around at first. I think he has a double ball jointed neck. I think there's a joint inside of there, but it doesn't really work. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just I'm seeing the... this is like a rubber overlay. This his upper torso here. So maybe it just appears like there should be a joint in there, but it's not. There is the ball joint in his head, so you can look up this far. You could look down that far. You could turn it around pretty well. In his shoulders, he has rotation, and he has a hinge there. So you get good movement with that. Here is one of the problems I had with Baxter here. He's got double jointed elbows, right? And these elbow joints are painted. And they were stuck. And these are like bad joints to try to move around. Ooh, there's a fire. Hang on. All right. Hopefully that was nothing serious. So you have these double jointed elbows here. And I could not get the bottom joints to move on either side. I can only get the joints to move on the top side. And I'm kind of okay with that because in general, I don't like double jointed elbows. I always think they look weird. And you could just kind of tell by this that it's going to look weird when you actually put it, bend this one. And I was really afraid that I was going to break this joint because these joints are so small. So past that, his wrist rotates and they have a hinge joint in there so you can get him to do this. He has a joint, like a ball joint in his upper torso, so you can rotate him around. You can get him to rock back and forth or side to side. Down here, he has some pretty decent hip joints. Again, he's got the, I think you can't see it because like the pants here, the top, the pelvis area, it's like a rubber joint there too, or a rubber cover. So you could rotate his leg up this far before you like hit the rubber area. You can rotate outwards. It's a very nice joint. It works well. His knees weren't as bad as Splinter's. I could get them to rotate really well. And these are double jointed too. And then his ankles here, they have a hinge. And they have ankle rockers. At first, when I saw the pictures of this guy, whenever they were showing him at cons and stuff like that, I thought that they had just reused the same feet as the Ninja Turtles, but they look different. So, there's a similarity and there's also something very different of them. I don't think flies have nails, do they? I don't know. I've never seen a fly nail. Looks like I forgot to mention something on poor old Baxter here too. His wings. His wings have rotation and they have a hinge, and you can get, you can move these all over the place very easily. Very good. I like these. And you have these I can't remember what the extra hands are called, but you have these extra insect arms, and they too have a hinge, and they can rotate all the way around. Ooh. And these actually move pretty good. Like they're not giving me any kind of pull or anything like that. So it's moving good. I'm not really worried about breaking them. That brings me to, it seems like this Baxter Stockman doesn't have any reused parts. So that's awesome. You got, for the first time in a long time, you got two completely brand new, no reusable parts characters in this 2-pack. That's pretty amazing. And from what I understand, Trevor from Super 7 said in an interview with The Fwoosh that because the Turtles did so well, they will have a lot more toys in the future that don't have a bunch of reusable parts, because now they got the monies. And when you got the monies, you can pay for more sculpts and stuff like that. So the future looks pretty awesome. Ooh, drop this poor guy. Like I said, I really like this guy a lot. I think they did an amazing job capturing the cartoon, and I can't wait to see, get in hand NECA's arcade Baxter too. I think that'll be great. So 2020 was pretty cool because you got two brand new Baxter Stockman figures, based on the original toy line and based on the original cartoon. So that's pretty awesome. Obviously there's also Baxter from Mirage comic books in the 2003 and 2012 series, but he's very different from that version. Originally Baxter wasn't meant to be the Fly in Mirage comic books, and for whatever reason they decided to change him like that in the toy line, and then eventually changed him like that in the original cartoon. So it's really cool, and both of these are really awesome. I gotta say, like, I don't think you could really just be like, oh, well, this Baxter sucks because he doesn't look like the original toy. Like, I loved that cartoon, those episodes with him in the cartoon. So I think it's very cool having an actual representation of the cartoon character on my wall. Or, shelf. Both have their own style and both are worth it. If you were curious with how this new Splinter fit in with the Super 7 Ultimates figure, he actually looks pretty good. Like, he's obviously a lot smaller than Raphael here, but I feel like that's consistent, especially with like the original Mirage comic books, that he would be this small next to the Ninja Turtles. The Super 7 one might actually be too big. So what do you think about that? You think that fits in okay or not? I could definitely see like putting this guy next to the Super 7 Turtles. Because like I said, I just prefer the look of him a whole lot more. And if you want to take it a step further here, I like the Shredder more. And I think that's a great mix. Like, there's obviously some minor stylish changes or differences, like you don't have the ink lines on Raph here, and but in general I think it looks pretty nice. Baxter here is kind of a mixed bag, he might be a little too small for the Turtles, especially when you can switch out the huge Ultimates one. He just looks better in scale with the Ninja Turtles here. You're now really getting to like a really exciting part in the the Ninja Turtle line. You're getting past all of the main characters. You now pretty much have the whole, Technodrome crew here, except Baxter in his human form, which, I'm sure NECA is probably planning on putting that guy out soon. But, and of course, Baxter does hate these guys as just as much as he hates the turtles because they turned him into this fly. I mean, look at this. Do you remember that episode in the cartoon? That kind of freaked me out when I was a kid. I was like, holy crap. I can't believe that, first of all, they're trying to kill him. And second of all, he's getting electrocuted and screaming. But, it's just cool because now we're getting past all of the major guys, the major threats. And hopefully now we're going to start seeing a lot more obscure characters. And, I think NECA is doing a really good job. And I can't wait to see where they're going from here on out. I don't want to sound like a shill or anything like that because I don't want it to appear like I'm just giving nothing but praise, but it is really cool. I think the NECA's doing a great job because they're finally giving us these characters that we always wanted, 33 years ago when we first saw the cartoon, and now we finally got them. And they do have their problems. Like I said, joints are a huge problem with NECA, and just just some paint problems and stuff like that, and distribution sucks too. It's such a pain in the neck trying to find these guys. You're constantly going up to Target, or you're just waiting by your phone for characters to go up on Target's website. I wish we could live in a world where we didn't have to deal with this stupid store exclusive stuff all the time. It's a huge headache, and at times it does make you want to be quit the line. But for me, I can't complain too much because I've always lucked out eventually and found them. I think patience is just kind of something you have to deal with. These started coming out in mid-December. It was before Christmas, and it just takes weeks and weeks for them to finally show up here in Pennsylvania. And so far I've just been lucky. These two guys, in my opinion, were the weakest point of the 1988 Ninja Turtle toy line. I just never really liked them. I had a lot of problems with them as a kid, and even now as an adult, they're definitely not my favorite. So I'm just glad that, 33 years later, I finally got a Splinter and a Shredder that I always wanted. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. I'm pretty excited about what's coming out in 2021. If you haven't seen, I put up a video a couple weeks ago about my Ninja Turtle wish list for 2021. So check that out. Hopefully, some of my dreams will come true. Have a good one.